Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
It's Ed Cohen, and coming to you today from Kahana, Maui. Good place. Work from anywhere, right? Global TV Talk Show is a service of globalbusinessnews.net. Google Analytics has been mapping us, tracking our audience since our foundation in 2003, when the website launched. Since then, they say we've had 1.2 million page views. It's a lot, and we're very thankful. So since January 1, Google Analytics has tracked over 72 or 73,000 reader page views, and it's a lot to do with our global TV show. Very thankful. Special guest today is Julie. Julie is headmaster, head of the bridgeschool.net. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Ed. Great to be on here again. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. This is, I look forward to these shows because I learn so much about the value of properly done online education. It's getting a bad rap out there because people are not informed and they're saying stupid things. So let's educate the public. Mm-hmm. So Julie Taylor, please introduce Tilli.
Yeah, thanks. So I am super excited. As you know, we've had a lot of conversations about what online education can look like, what it looks like in the mobile, inside of the global family place, and what it can mean for students around the world. We're a big advocate of not just online programs, but hybrid schools, and really finding the program that meets each student's and family's individual needs. And along those same lines is a parent advocacy. And as a parent, I think we all know, or maybe have felt at some point, stuck in what our children are doing and what they're doing in school, and maybe that we don't have any choice in what their schooling options are, especially if you're in a rural community or you don't have many options where you live. And we have invited Tilli to join us today. And Tilli has been an education advocate for the past 2 decades and has really been involved in school choice and really working to educate people about the different options and how it benefits society as a whole. So welcome, Tilli. Please, I know I did not do what you what you do justice. So please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you've been doing.
Hi, well, thank you. Hi, welcome, Ed and Julie, and thanks for having me today to talk about an issue that I'm really passionate about, and that is parent school choice, and in particular, online education, and what innovation can do for families and students to help them be successful. And it's a subject that's really on everyone's minds right now due to the COVID-19 crisis and school closures that we've seen worldwide. So education is really a hot topic right now, which I'm glad that it is, because it's so important to our kids and to our future. And my parent advocacy journey started about 20 years ago. Obviously, every parent's an advocate. You know, when your children are born, you start advocating for your children. You start making decisions and you start doing research about all kinds of different things for your children. But for me, it really came to, the forefront for our family when our youngest child, he entered public schools. I was public school educated and thought I had a really great education, and that was important for us. But we were an Air Force family, and when my husband retired from the Air Force, we did what most people do. You move to a new community, a new area. We didn't have any family or friends in the area, and so we asked our realtor and my husband's new coworkers, what's the great school district? Because this was going to be the first time in our lives that we got to choose where we lived and choose where our kids were going to go to school. And so everybody told us a school district. We were in Northeast Pennsylvania at the time. And on paper, that school district looked great. It had great test scores. It had fancy buildings. There was a lot of wealth in the district. And so, we settled in there. What nobody told us was that this particular school district, and Pennsylvania in general, had a very long history of teacher strikes and contentious contract negotiations. And so my son's first 3 years of public school were interrupted by teacher strikes. And I'm not talking about like 1 or 2 days out of the classroom. At one point, they were out of the classroom for 6 weeks until a judge intervened and forced them back into the classroom. Naturally, 3 years of interrupted education was not great for students or educators or the community. And during this time, we found out my son had a learning difference, and we knew continuity in education was going to be really important. And we also knew that as parents, we wanted to be involved in our son's education beyond being the classroom mom or doing a bake sale, those kinds of things. And so we started doing our research, and we discovered this new crazy thing at the time called cyber schools. They might be called virtual schools in your state or e-learning, but it was public full-time online education. And to make a long story short, my son participated in full-time online learning in 3 different states over the course of 10 years, and he graduated in 2015, and he's finishing up his bachelor's now at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. And all of that kind of spurred my advocacy, not just for my son, but for other students as well. And from that little, I don't know, leap of faith into doing something new and different in education, I became active with different advocacy organizations. And even after my son graduated, I've continued because I believe that parent choice is so important, and every family should have a full menu of educational options for their students.
Tilli, on parent advocacy, that's not a political movement, that's a conversation, right?
Yeah, for parents, education choice, educational opportunity, it is not a partisan idea or concept. For myself as a parent advocate, I will talk to anybody. If you care about kids and education, I really don't care who your political party is. Unfortunately, so much of education, it is political because there are special interests involved. And I'm of the mind that the most important special interest in any education conversation is the parents and students. They are the ultimate stakeholders. But that means that we do come across, political stumbling blocks, whether it's policy or funding. And so you do have to kind of wear a political hat sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm going to talk to, it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. If you want to make a difference for kids and we are aligned philosophically, I'm going to talk to you, and hopefully we can come together to work to help all kids, because kids aren't political. They're nonpartisan.
Right. So Julie and Julie and Tilli both address this idea of when your child has a difference in learning and needs special care. How does Bridge School get involved in that?
Yeah, well, let me first kind of go back to the conversations that Tilli was talking about. And even though, Tilli does have a lot of information, or, there might be meet at the Capitol Day or different things like that, it's all about education and telling the stories of the students. And so it's not, I'm going to fund this huge campaign and give money to so-and-so candidate. It's really about being the voice for the students and really telling their stories. And so that is really what parent advocacy is all about when it comes to education, is just understanding the different needs of students that are out there. And with the Bridge School, we are a private school. So some of those same issues that Tilli had talked about, as far as, legislature and the laws that were created, 50 years ago to serve the needs of a bricks and mortar school, we aren't bound by some of those same restrictions and funding requirements. So with the Bridge School, we are able to allow students to maybe move at their own pace, if they need a little bit more time with the curriculum. Our students are able to chunk the classes together. So if they only want to take 2 classes at a time instead of 6 classes at a time, we can accommodate that. We do have some special learners that, we do right now off the top of my head. I know we've got a few students who have dyslexia. And so we have screen readers or things that help the students understand the material a little bit easier, or the teachers work with the student to maybe reduce the number of questions that are on assessments, or reword some of the assessment questions so they're a little bit easier to understand. So all of those types of things are ways that we can meet the different needs of learners.
And I love that. And I'll just say, as a parent of a student with a learning difference, online education really was a game changer for him, because he could get a world-class curriculum that wasn't necessarily, the bar was never lowered for him as far as expectations or the kind of content that he could access. And that really allowed him to be passionate about learning and be excited about it. And in a traditional setting, our experience, with learning support or special education was, these kids kind of got siloed into a space, and they missed out on a lot of the things that excite kids about learning. Those special classes, social studies, science experiments, art class, and that just was devastating to a kid who loved to learn but just needed a little more time to get those foundational experiences and concepts learned. And so I'm forever grateful for, schools like the Bridge School, or these full-time online schools or hybrid programs that really give kids the flexibility to learn at their own pace, but still be challenged and access really exciting kinds of educational resources.
So Julie, when the Bridge School has this system that you've talked about in the past about pausing during the day and then coming back to it, that's a perfect fit then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the benefits that we have is that we don't have set requirements for time for when students have to do their schoolwork. We know that some students have, a really hard time getting up in the mornings. It might be a medical condition. It might be, different working hours. We have students who work. So we are able to allow students to complete their work at any point in the week. They can log on and access the curriculum. They can take breaks between subjects and really get outside, stretch, get away from the computer. So all of those things really help when it comes to allowing the students to design their own educational program.
Excellent. Parent advocacy. Are there lessons? Is there a website that you recommend so moms and dads can learn more about this idea?
Sure. So I can name several. One of the organizations that I've been involved with for a very long time was the National Coalition for Public School Options. And I served as the president of their board of directors for 4 years and have been involved with them for about 16 years at the state level. There's chapters and coalitions in 30 plus states at this point. And so you can find them at publicschooloptions.org. And then I lead a group called Parent Support for Online Learning. And we have a really robust Facebook parent support group that has really been beneficial to families who are new to remote learning or full-time online schools at this point. And then we also have families in there who are homeschooling, but tapping into online resources as well. And you can find us at Parents4 support on Twitter. And then just search Parent Support for Online Learning on Facebook. And that group really gets back to what Julie was hitting on about the advocacy that you can do really at the base level, at the student level, at the classroom level, the school level, and how to, kind of gain the resources and the knowledge that you need to be the very best advocate that you can be for your student. And that's what I love, because we're in the trenches with the parents every day.
Julie, let's take a couple of minutes and reiterate what you talked about last time with the idea of strong minds and how this applies to online, particularly with kids who are dragged overseas for a military assignment or corporate, and they're away from their comfort zone. And how do you keep the mind strong?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the programs that we've implemented this year is called Strong Minded, and it's a social emotional based learning modules that we can build into our curriculum and just give these students 5-minute lessons on how to just deal with the stresses. Research and studies are showing that children and teen depression rates and anxiety rates are through the roof. They're higher than they've ever been. And so what we're doing is we're trying to help students understand how to deal with some of the different stressors that come across them in everyday life. Whether it's time management and they feel like they've got so much going on and they don't know how to get it all done, what maybe goal setting. It could be working or talking with parents when there's conflict in the home. Maybe it's dealing with social media and the stressors of social media. So those types of things help students really understand from a real world perspective how to deal with some of their stressors. And long term, it gives them a lot of tools in their tool belt to really go forward into the world as adults. But I think that's a huge thing that we offer our students. But Tilli, I had a question for you. So I know that you shared your story about your son and his needs not being met in the public school. How do you see parent advocacy changing this year because of the pandemic, and what does that mean for parent advocacy? So, because I think that schools across the globe have had such drastic measures put in place this year that some parents just don't even know what to do, and course failing rates are at all-time highs across the world as far as how students are doing. So what does parent advocacy mean this year?
I think parent advocacy is entering a new frontier and will be more important than ever. And I think parents, because of this COVID-19 crisis, they have really been given a new opportunity to see their children's education in a different light, because education has been brought into basically every household in the country through remote learning. And they are seeing now not just new technology that they might not be accustomed to, but they're also getting a good look at curriculum and what their children are being taught and how they're being taught and the skill sets of their educators. And so they're really getting an informed look at their kids' education. And we see more parents every day speaking out and either saying, this is great and our school's doing a great job and these teachers are fine. But we also see a lot of parents saying, you know what, I'm not quite comfortable with this. And maybe my kid's not getting exactly what they need. And so they're starting to step out, they're starting to speak up. And now it's our job as experienced educators, advocates, to help them, to give them the tools to be the best advocates that they can be for their children. And I'm excited. I think we are going to see incredible innovation come out of this crisis. As much as I think people want to see a return to the old ways, I think that we can't go back. I think the genie's out of the bottle. And I think now our job is to make these new innovative learning models that are kind of coming out of this COVID crisis. Now's the time to really invest in them and give them the full attention that they need.
So now I want to take a quick break. We're going to show a video with Julie talking about the Bridge School and some other commercials. So on the other side of this, we'll continue this conversation, and Julie, maybe you can do a deep dive about dealing with athletes or ballet dancers and military families and people who live in really foreign places and maybe stuck there. They can't even come home because of COVID. So let's take a quick break. And now a word from our co-sponsors. You know, our programs wouldn't happen without the wonderful support of our advertisers. Here they are.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
CubeMonk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm a nurse from the Philippines, and I got to know IAS through Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. And I want to thank IAS, especially to Matthew, for helping me get my car stress-free, headache-free. And so just want to show you the car that I got. So it's a RAV4 XLE 2020.
As an expat moving to the USA, relocating is exciting, but it can also be stressful. Getting a car, truck, or SUV for personal transportation is usually a high priority. That's where International Auto Source comes in. We make getting the vehicle you want for your work assignment or academic program easy, so you're ready to drive when you arrive. Our product specialists have helped over 50,000 expatriates with their personal transportation needs, making us the largest international auto retailer in the world. International Auto Source gives you flexible payment options to buy, lease, or rent a vehicle from the world's leading auto brands, arrange financing on a purchase or lease without a U.S. credit history, social security number, or driving record, get full insurance coverage, and get approved easily through our low-rate factory-backed financing programs. And because we're an authorized distributor of the world's leading automotive brands, our no-haggle prices are competitive, and the buying experience is hassle-free. We'll even guarantee your new vehicle will be ready the day you arrive. With over 20 years of experience in the global community, we are the vehicle experts for expats. We are International Auto Source.
Julie, let's go back and talk about the Bridge School and its uniqueness, particularly for students who have other things to do in addition to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've been talking this hour about the parent advocacy, and one of the things that is really unique about our school is that we serve a number of athletes and students around the globe. And we allow students to kind of have that freedom to enroll at any point in the year. So we're not set in terms of our fall semester or spring semester, but students are able to enroll throughout the year to complete their curriculum. And there's not set time. So if it's a student athlete who has a very busy season, if maybe they're a ballet dancer and they have performances doing the Nutcracker, maybe they need to take a week or two pause in their curriculum and then come back and pick up where they left off without having that added stress when they're already performing for maybe 50 hours a week, and they just can't handle all of what that entails. And so we're able to come in and meet the needs of that population. Or with a mobile family, we have a lot of families around the globe that are maybe moving or living abroad into another country. Maybe they got stuck there because of COVID and they're not able to return home, and their education options are limited. So we're able to access students around the globe in their own time zones. We don't have to, they don't have to log on a specific time, and they are able to continue living in that culture, maybe in Italy or, Honduras, and work through, the things that they're going through as a family without having that stress of, what school am I putting my child in? When we can offer that consistency to the student, no matter where they're living. And so we do have a lot of families historically that have been moving around the country every couple of years due to job placement. And so this offers a consistency. Now, I think that has changed quite a bit. The educational landscape, or the global landscape, has been changing in the last 8 months due to COVID. There's been a lot fewer placements for people moving and having those short-term assignments. And from the HR professionals that I've spoken to, what's changing is now they are being asked to relocate to that area. So maybe before, where these professionals were being moved into Russia or Germany or Italy, and they were given a package that included education benefits for their students, they're no longer able to receive those education benefits, and they have to find something that's going to work within the salary that they're given. And so the Bridge School is a great affordable option for some of those families across the globe.
Boy, that sounds like it's like a miracle. It's almost a biblical thing. Like, here's an answer to a really big problem. So Tilli, parents have been advocating this kind of thing forever, right?
Yeah, online education in the United States, it's over 2 decades old at scale, like full-time, robust online education with great curriculum, with certified teachers. Yeah, this is not new to many families in the country, but it's new to the masses. And that's why we have seen, some families struggle with remote learning, because the traditional systems just really hadn't invested in online education the way that some of these schools like the Bridge School have built, robust learning management systems, have created curriculum that's not just digitized content, but it's created for online learning with the best practices in mind. And so we've been doing this work a long time and really fighting to promote and protect the option for families all across the country. And, it's wonderful that we have these opportunities with Zoom and all this technology that we can communicate and learn from each other. And at Parent Support for Online Learning, we have, leaders in online education that they were the pioneers. And so we have the Strong Minds and Pearson and the folks from K-12 and also district leaders. There have been some states and school districts that have been on the forefront of innovation. And so we've talked to people from states like Florida that have really robust school choice opportunities for families. But yeah, a lot of this work, the reason that online learning has taken off the way that it has is because of the hard work of parent advocates out there fighting for the option.
So Julie, how does one-on-one work? Students sitting at home, tuned in at a certain time or a certain link. Is there a chat capability? So like, I have a question, teacher, can there be a response?
Yeah, it is different depending on each program. Like I said, there's such a variety of programs that are out there. And some have some like Zoom requirements or live session requirements throughout the day. Some just have check-in times throughout the week. But either way, it's based on the support. Parents are going to make the decision based on the support that their child needs, and it varies. So not just like every school in across the state or across the nation is not the same. The same goes for online learning as well. Not every program is created the same, but what parents want to look for is, what are the time requirements that students need to be online? What is the length of the time that they have to finish the courses? What kind of teacher support is available, and are the teachers certified teachers? Are they content area experts? And so those are some of the types of questions that parents want to ask as they're choosing a school. Tilly, are you finding that there's more parents that are joining and looking for the advocacy groups that are not parents of special needs children? Like, are you feeling that shift has changed as well?
Oh yeah, it's, you know what, parents of every race, socioeconomic level, every walk of life in America, parents care about their kids, and they all want to have their kids be successful and get what they need in the education setting that fits them best. So yeah, it's broad spectrum. It's every kind of parent, which I love. And, you know, I just wanted to hit on what you were talking about, you know, just like in any school system, you need diversity within every model. So within online learning, you know, kids are getting real-time learning. They're also getting offline experiences. And at Parent Support for Online Learning, we have spent a lot of time kind of training parents up and giving them the information that they need to ask those questions, like Julie was talking about. How much parent support is going to be needed in this model? How much one-on-one teacher interaction? Those kinds of things. And we put together kind of a checklist for remote learning and for online learning, because we knew parents were trying to evaluate between what was being offered through their school districts and what was going to be offered through these full-time online learning programs. And they are a little different. And so parents needed all the information to make the best decision. And we've worked really hard to make the distinction between the two and help parents make the right decision for their families.
Let's do a deep dive, Tilly, in your military lifestyle experiences. You certainly were, I almost said patient, but maybe you were patient. But what what I'm trying to say here is about you have personal hands-on experience with being in a foreign place, and your child needs to learn and stay in touch.
Yeah, my husband went overseas many times, TDY and remotes to the Philippines and the Middle East, but we were always stateside. But we were always, you know, as a military family, every 2 to 3 years, we were someplace new. And then again, we kind of thought when my husband retired from the Air Force, he would get a job in one place and work the next 20 years, and that would be it. Well, we've been on the move as a corporate family just as much as we were with the Air Force. And so we have a lot of experience about being newcomers in a new place. And our family motto was always bloom where you're planted. So you make the best of wherever you find yourself. But, you know, when you move around like that, children, it impacts your kids. And education is a really high priority for military families. We know that. For our family, it actually came to the point my husband was, you know, hitting 20 plus years, and we knew we had this child that was entering the most critical years of his education. And he just was like, you know, do I want to keep putting my family through multiple moves and me being gone all the time? And we really made a career decision based on education. And so, you know, education is really important to military families. And I think military families, you know, back in the day when our daughter was going to school, you didn't have any options. You went to the school that base was zoned into by zip code, or if you were lucky, they had a school on base and that's where you went. But even those, the military started pulling those kinds of resources off of bases. And so our options were limited. And that meant that, by the time our daughter got to high school, I got a call one day from her math teacher. She was in jeopardy of failing, and it was her senior year. And there were gaps in her education because she had been in all these different high schools that had different levels of expectation, different standards from state to state, from military installation to installation. And it broke my heart because there's nothing worse for a parent to see your kid struggling. And then the hard part is they weren't that worried about it. And I think they were just accustomed to saying, it's a military kid, we'll just pass them through. That wasn't satisfactory to me as a parent. And so, we had to have some discussions in the household and get those grades up and figure out what the deficits were. But we knew we didn't want that for our son, and online education really filled that need for us, as we were a family continually on the move every couple of years, going state to state that didn't have the same standards. So I think military parents, it's important, and they should know that they have options, and it's okay. I think when you're a newcomer in any community, you kind of sit back and get the lay of the land. Don't do it for too long. Don't settle. You have to fight for your kids to get them everything that they need. And, it's your job. It's your job. It's your right and your responsibility to fight for your kids, no matter where in the world you land.
So Tilly, we're coming to a close in a few minutes. I want to be sure people know how to contact you. What is the contact detail?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Tilli Elvrum, and Facebook the same. The best way to get me is either Twitter or through our Parent Support for Online Learning group. And again, that's all you search for, Parent Support for Online Learning, and it'll pull up the group. And we have a lot of wonderful parents chiming in there, supporting each other. This is a challenging time for families with COVID and the school closures, and you don't have to go it alone. Your fellow parents are here to support you, and we want to do that. And my door is always open, and I am always welcome to email or have a chat with a parent to help them and get them the resources that they need.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Julie, why don't you sum up and talk about what's happening at the Bridge School as we enter the holiday time and look to what I'm calling Lucky 21.
Absolutely. So, the Bridge School has been, in this past 6 months or so, has been getting a lot of inquiries from families from all areas of the spectrum. We're seeing, we've had some families that, Tilly talked about the military families. We had one family that the entire family was based at an Air Force base in South Korea. And right at the beginning of COVID, the mom and the children did a stateside visit, and then COVID hit and they got stuck and they weren't allowed to go back to base. And the children's school was on base. And so now they can't attend the school, and they were stuck. They didn't know what to do. So we were able to serve those students and allow them to finish their semester and get credit for that semester and not lose that time. So that was a really great story of how we could fill that gap. We're getting parents who, on one side of the spectrum, their local school is going back in person and they have health concerns and they don't want their student to go back to school. And then we have parents on the other end of the spectrum where the school is doing maybe a remote learning, but it's not being implemented well. And they really want expertise and knowledge from a school that's been in online learning and has that digital curriculum piece already in place. So, going into 2021, I think parents are starting to realize that the COVID pandemic isn't that 15-day thing we thought it was going to be. It's much longer, and we don't want to make the entire school year a wash for our students. So parents are wanting to make a wise decision for the second semester of this school year so that it's not just going back and forth. They're not stuck with what their local school district is doing or their local schools are doing, and they're realizing that they do have options.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Julie. The bridgeschool.net is just a great resource, and check it out. Tilly, really nice to meet you, and I'm going to share this program with my realtor friend in Colorado Springs. Yeah, he's not going to sell you anything, don't worry. But he and his wife are good old friends of mine.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I've been in Colorado Springs too.
Well, come back. It's beautiful.
That's what I hear. Yeah. So I thank you, Julie, again for being involved, and looking forward to our next talk.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
Thank
Great
you.
day.
Thank you. Over and out. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.